Hey, welcome to Vision for Life Radio, where faith and sports collide. Pastor Tim Yeager is joining me. I'm Roger Patterson, and we are joined today by 13-year NFL veteran Renaldo Wynn. He comes out of the Golden Dome, Notre Dame, went and played for the Jaguars, played some time in the Redskins, a little bit of time with the Saints, the Giants, and back to the Redskins. Most recently, been working for Coach Joe Gibbs and Joe Gibbs Racing and Gameplan For Life. And, brother, it is great to connect with you. You're one of my favorite people in all the world.
Well, it's always great being on, man. It's been too long, man. But appreciate that introduction there, man.
Yeah, you got it, brother. You got it. I remember, Tim, I told you, I remember that you told we were having dinner one time, and you were looking at my son, Brady. You're like, Brady, I was a DB in high school and got recruited at Notre Dame, and I ate my way through the defensive lines and came out a first-round draft pick on the defensive tackle.
I know, right?
He said
I went
that.
through the whole progression, man. Standing up all the way down to put my head on the ground, man.
Oh, that's good.
You said that while you were getting seconds or thirds of whatever Julie was making. It was awesome.
I know. It caught up with me, man. It caught up with me, that's for sure.
Hey, let's talk a little NFL, man. Are you following the league and what's going on right now?
I have to, man. I'm in the fantasy football too, man. So
There you go. How's your season going?
It kind of keeps you involved. You know what? I'm actually pretty good right now. We got a fantasy league that we started about 5 years ago that incorporates a lot of our drivers. Believe it or not, man, Kyle Busch, huge fantasy and talks trash. He lost last year. I won't tell you what his name is, because the loser of the fantasy bowl, the loser bowl, the last two guys, the team actually picks your name and your likeness, and so I'm not going to even say what that is. It's only
That's perfect.
It may, young ears are listening, but at the end of the day, this year I'm doing pretty well. We got Denny Hamlin, who's killing it. He's killing it in our NASCAR series, of course, as well, winning yesterday's race in Phoenix. But, we got some pit crew guys and some football guys on there, too. So we like to ham it up a little bit, man. So, yeah, I'm involved in keeping up. Needless to say, I'm always rooting for some teams that I don't want to win, but they got my fantasy guy on there, so I got to go for it.
Hey, tell me about your Saints. What happened yesterday? Falcons beat them 26-9.
Yeah, man, I tell you, I thought Drew, my former teammate, was going to come out there and just kill it, man. He had a great week the week before, and, of course, Teddy, holding down the fort for us, going 5-0, and I'm just like, this is a big rivalry game. You know what I mean? We don't like each other, and so to play at home, and then not only did we not play well, but we lose, and we were just out of whack, man. We just could not get anything going. Couldn't get, the run game going. I think Drew was a little bit off. We had a lot of drop passes from receivers, and again, also with not stopping the run on the other end.
Right.
Couldn't stop the run defensively. So anytime you can't run the ball and you can't stop the run, you really limit yourself. And again, Drew, just a little off there. So they had a great game plan for us, and the Falcons were successful.
Yeah, they were. Hey, let's talk about a couple of your former teams that you played with. You were first round pick of the Jaguars and played for Coach Coughlin there. They've been through some ups and downs. And what's your take on the Jags right now with Coach Marone and the Texans? I've got my Texans shirt on while we're doing this interview here. Our Texans went over to London and beat them down pretty good. But I did, yeah. They did. But what are your thoughts on the Jags right now?
Oh man, had a little quarterback issue there early. Of course, didn't sign Bortles back, but felt like with signing Nick Foles, we got a great leader, a guy that's been there and done that. And of course, he gets injured the very first game, the first half, breaks his clavicle. And then, of course, man, nobody knows who Minshew is, unless you're a Wazoo fan, Washington State, right? With the mustache. And it just goes Minshew crazy. Even, Rico comes back from Napoleon Dynamite. They do a little skit. And now they're selling Minshew and mustaches all over the place, man. And not only that, we're winning a few games. And Leonard Fournette is feels like. But, these last 3 games, again, man, we get a little bit of a drama situation with Jalen Ramsey, the best, probably arguably the best cornerback in all of the NFL, and he's not happy. And, those types of things sometimes can be a distraction. You try to play it off and try to stay focused, but it can sometimes disrupt the entire team. And, just right now, I think the bye week probably couldn't have come at a better time, and get everybody healed up. And Nick Foles, he's saying that, they're going to implement him back into the offense, and, how does that impact the entire team? And so right now, man, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what our identity is, where we are in terms of as a football team. I mean, we were known to be very strong defensively, but, again, that seems to be kind of out of whack as well. Your Texans, they had the drop on us, but you guys got a great quarterback. And I think it goes back, Roger, to the quarterback position. When you look at most of these teams in the NFL, how does the quarterback play?
Right.
Managing the football game. I think, even as we looked at the game last night against the Cowboys, in terms of the quarterback play there, it comes down to that. And you guys got a great quarterback in Deshaun Watson. He's had a heck of a year. And we're just trying to find out our identity, who's going to be our leader, if it's going to be Nick Foles, as he's getting back healthy, or if we're going to continue to play with Minshew and just rally behind him.
Hey, Tim Yeager over here is the biggest Dallas Cowboys fan in the city of Houston.
Well, I grew up in Dallas, okay, so I got some loyalty land there. And hey, I'm not. He says the biggest. I mean, I might be the biggest in Houston because there are not many here, right? There's a bunch of haters down here, is what there are. But I mean, I don't have. So I was born in 1991. Just to give you a little insight about me,
youngin.
So the Cowboys were really good, right, when I was a baby. But in my time, my teenage years and up to my young adulthood, we haven't done a whole lot. So I don't have a whole.
8-8.
We got 8-8. See, that's what I have to deal with down here. But no, I mean, I was disappointed in last night. The season's not over. They're doing well. They haven't lost the NFC East game yet. But those are the games you got to win.
You had to put that in there, right?
Well, I know you played for the Redskins and the Giants, so I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, so
no worries.
What was it like in that rivalry when you were the Redskins and you guys? I mean, do you get just extra amped up when you're going against the Cowboys? What's the deal?
Oh man, I even feel it right now. Even as a former player, man, I get amped up, man. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I mean, it's Redskin Cowboy weekend, when we play. And so, it's just one of those things that there's no other rivalry quite like that rivalry. And I really didn't understand it because I was a free agent when I signed with the Redskins. I was in Jacksonville for 5 years with Tom Coughlin.
Right.
And so really didn't buy into it. Of course, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a rivalry game. And so when I got there, I'm like, God, what's the big deal? And I soon come to realize, I don't know where it came from. I actually started having like a hate. I know we're not supposed to use that word, but I had a hate for the Cowboys, man. I mean, it was real, man. And, I'm telling you, I had a situation where we raced our teams at Texas Motor Speedway.
Right.
And Jason Witten was, there and the Grand Marshal and the whole deal. And he was still playing. Of course, I was retired working with Joe Gibbs Racing. And one of our guys that works for Kyle Busch, I said, hey, man, played against that guy, man. Great quarterback. Great tight end and all that stuff, man. And he kind of, hey, who got the best bounce? No comment. He said, well, I already know the answer. I'm going to say something to Jason Witten. He goes over and says, hey, man, Renaldo's right over there, man. You played against him, man. He said he got the best of you. And Jason gave me a squirrel, like a look, man, like across the room, like we're about to go at it. I'm like, why did you do that?
It's real.
It's real, man. It is real through and through, man, for sure. And I almost became a Cowboy, man, but the Lord knew, man. Jason actually.
Hey.
I know, John, I'm sorry. But Jerry Jones had a scout at my house the night before the draft, took me and my family out to dinner and, said, hey, son, you're going to be a Cowboy the next day. And I thought I was going to be a Cowboy. They actually moved up all the way to the draft 22 in 97. They were trying to get me, and the Jaguars picked me with the pick before in 21, and
wow.
They ended up picking David LaFleur was a tall tight end. He had some knee issues, and then Jason Witten was the next pick from there the next year. But, it came close there.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, they say it's America's team, but it seems like America loves when they lose. So it seems like a really love-hate relationship. Yeah. But that's cool with your insight. And like Roger said and mentioned, and you've kind of mentioned as well, you've played for a few teams in the NFL. So when you are now on the other side of it as a fan, is there a team that you follow more closely, or are you just kind of a league guy, or you cheer for some former teammates? How does that kind of work?
You know what? I'm loved by fault, and it's by default, and I'm not picked, but I'm actually cheering for all the teams that actually gave me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I do. I cheer for the Redskins, the Saints, the Giants, and the Jaguars, and then of course my hometown team, the Chicago Bears. So I know guys always give me a hard time, like, hey, you're jumping on the bandwagon. I'm like, look. If that other team would have gave me some food on my table and put a check there for me and gave me an opportunity, I would have been a fan of theirs too. So I cheer for all.
Unless your fantasy team, right? Unless you need 18 points from one of your fantasy players on Monday night, right?
Yeah. I pull the deal of a lifetime because again, it just shows you how real this rivalry is. I traded Dak and Jason Witten before the game to one of our pick guys that was needing a quarterback for his fantasy team because I didn't want to feel like I needed to pull for the Cowboys.
That's funny.
Hey, I failed to start Mahomes yesterday, and he put up 446 yards, and anyway,
wow.
I got I was busy. That was my excuse.
Yeah, you were big time,
folks.
Big time
we're visiting with Renaldo Wynn, 13-year NFL vet. This man loves Jesus Christ. He is a servant of the Lord. He most recently has been working with Coach Joe Gibbs and Gameplan For Life, and been going into prison ministries. But he's played for the Jaguars, for the Saints, the Redskins, for the Giants. Who was the hardest coach you played for? Is that fair? Is that a fair question? I mean, How do you distinguish that?
You know what? It is hard to distinguish it because I was fortunate. I don't know if I was fortunate or unfortunate because I would say three of those coaches were pretty tough. And you look at Tom Coughlin, they call it Camp Coughlin. I think that took about 3 or 4 extra years off my career, man. I think I was going through dog years when I was playing for Tom Coughlin, man. I mean, it was rough, man. I mean, when Tom took over, as the head coach for Jacksonville Jaguars, I didn't know any different. I was a rookie. I was wondering why I had veteran guys leaving in the middle of the night, not showing up, and it was just common where they would do a checklist and say, hey, kind of name a guy off. He didn't answer. Oh, he must be going or whatever. They found out his agent kind of got him up out of there. I mean, veteran guys would come in there and they would look like this cannot be possible. Wow. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, I would go into a full body cramp, and Tom will be in there. And usually, any other team, you're at least out for like a day or 2 days or something. Tom is like, I know you think this is not going to, give you a pass for the next practice. I got to practice in like 2 or 3 hours. My whole body has went into a cramp. They cut my pads off of me, and he's in my face saying, "Hey, this ain't gonna give you a pass." You know what I mean? It was pretty rough, man. And of course, Tom wrote the book when he went to the Giants because that was kind of his turning point when Strahan and a lot of those guys kind of said, look, you're about to get fired and we're going to still be here. And we think you need to make a few changes that could make the difference in our season. And he did. And he made the change. And one of the things is just like, look, guys want to know that you're human, that you care about the guys and not just about what they do on the field. And, and not only that, you got to change this Coughlin time. The Coughlin time he was notorious for. He would, say the meeting would start at 7 p.m., and if you got there at 7:55, you were late, and you got a $1,200 fine in your locker. You know what I mean? So if you weren't 15 minutes early, you know what I mean, you were late. You know what I mean? So, and that was one of the things. Hey, if the meeting starts if it starts at 6:50 don't say it starts at 7. You know what I mean? You start the meeting at 6:50. Just say the meeting's going to start at 6:50. And so, you know, it was just different things like that he changed. And, of course, they went on the run and won the Super Bowl. I got to New York after being with Coughlin for 5 years. I thought he was still the same. Eli came to me and Sean O'Hara and was like, look, this ain't the same guy. And I didn't believe it, and I soon found out when I came to my first meeting that morning. I was at the meeting 20 minutes early. As we got close, I'm looking at my watch. Nobody's here. It's 5 minutes before the meeting starts. I'm thinking like, man, I'm about to be late for my first meeting and get fined. And then my first day with the Giants. And I'm looking around, and it's like 1 minute before the meeting, people starts coming in. They're laughing. Like, you thought you were going to get fined. But sure enough, Coughlin, he had made those changes, man. So
well, and that's good, right? Leaders make adjustments and learn. And it's good that he was open and listening and that kind of stuff. Hey, you know, one thing you've done for me is like traveling to New Orleans and reaching out to you. Tell our listeners top 5 restaurants in New Orleans to hit.
Top 5. I am the food connoisseur, which is probably my issue, Roger. It's not, I'm doing too many pull-ups to the table and not pushing weight. So hearing it from a D lineman, a connoisseur of all types of food, you definitely, first of all, you got to go to Drago's. If you're ever in New Orleans, I am a believer that even if you're not an oyster eater, you will be if you go to Drago's. Most guys, when they would come to the Saints, they hated oysters. But every Friday, even now to this day, Coach Payton has Drago's come to the facility.
Wow.
It is an unbelievable. I'm talking about they charboil them over the grill, fire it up.
Change your life.
I'll tell you, it would change your life, man, and that's all night. You know, and so you got to make sure you eat the Drago's. Commander's Palace, one of the great historical restaurants in the Garden District area of New Orleans, is also another great one. Then nothing like eating a Ruth Chris Steakhouse in home where Ruth Chris originated.
Yeah.
You know, when Miss Chris actually started her restaurant, she's from New Orleans. I will tell you, it is a different taste eating a Ruth Chris Steakhouse steak in New Orleans than you would be in any other place. Then, of course, you got to go to any Dickie Brennan's restaurant. Dickie Brennan's, I mean, you know, is one of the all-time greats in terms of foods in New Orleans. I'm just telling you, any restaurant we would go to, and that was one of our traditions in the Saints, every week we would pick a different restaurant as a team amongst players to go to. And I'm telling you, you couldn't never pick a bad one. Even the hole in the walls also.
Yeah, yeah. And then what about a po' boy? Where do you get the best po' boy in New Orleans?
Oh my gosh! I mean, man, you can go to Copeland's. You can go to Commander Palace is a great one. Also, again, I talked about the oysters at Drago's.
Yeah.
So you probably can go to Drago's and get one of the best po' boy oysters that you probably ever want to eat.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, folks, that you heard it from the man
Just a few.
who knows the landscape.
Now, I know you got Papa Do's there. I know you guys got that. You know, I mean, that's one of my favorites, of course. You know, but you know, nothing like Drago's.
Yeah, nothing like eating that. You know, we love Camellia's down at that grill. Cooper loves their pancakes, man. We go get those pancakes for breakfast. Oh, so good, so good. Hey, let's talk a little NASCAR and cars. You've collected cars through the years. You still, what's your car collection looking like these days?
Man, you know, I'm a Chevy guy, and so I've had a few Impalas, and, you know, 59, 61 Impala was the first one I've ever had an opportunity to restore. And then, of course, having a 58 Impala was the first time the Impalas. But I love, which I have not have in my collection, I love the Camaros. My dream car is to have a 69 Camaro, of course, convertible, unless it's a Copo or you know, or in that. But I love all cars. I love the Shelby, the 68, 69 Shelbys. I love the JFK 64 Lincolns, you know, with the suicide doors. I mean, I love all cars. You know, and just again, I love the classics and the muscles, you know. So I just love being around. I think that's why I love NASCAR. You know, It's an easy fit for me. I went to one race NASCAR is like hockey, I would say. If you hadn't been to a NASCAR race or a hockey game, you probably wouldn't watch it on TV. But if you actually attended one of those events, you probably hooked, because it's nothing like you'll see on TV until you can hear it and feel it, you know what I mean, and just really be able to touch it, when you go to those. And that's what NASCAR did for me. And Coach Gibbs came to me within a couple of years when I was playing for him. He said, "Hey, I've been watching you, and you show up to these races around the country, and a lot of players I coached over the years, they come and go, but you just keep coming back, but you hadn't asked me for anything. You like this race?" I'm like, "Man, I love this race." And he said, "I was hoping you would say that, and so the rest was history. And 2012, he brought me on board. I've been a part of Joe Gibbs Racing for almost 8 years now.
And they produce champions. Not only did he do it in the NFL, but now he's doing it in the racing world, and it's amazing, the success. Why is that? What's his leadership secret? I mean, what secret? Yeah. What is the plan? What path does he follow that leads to such success?
Coach has a great way of being able to connect with guys, and not only just connect with them in such a way where he really brings the best out of you, and Coach has never said a cuss word. Imagine that in coaching. That's probably almost a miracle, right? You know what I mean? I mean, seriously, he's never, said a cuss word. I've never heard him. I've played for him. I've now worked for him for 8 years.
Wow.
He would chew you out, but he has a great way to be able to build you up. And he will never degrade you in front of your colleagues or your peers. He'll never do it. He'll always bring you in his office. He'll always talk to you. And more than likely, when he talks to you, it's not to degrade you. It's probably even to say, "Hey, I believe in you," and, build you up. Coach Gibbs cut me on my birthday. I don't know if I told you that.
No.
He cut me on my birthday. And you talked about, what is it about the leadership skills? So here I am getting cut, a guy that I probably wanted to cuss out, because I got cut on my birthday. I was nominated as the captain that year and totally didn't see it coming. And not only did I get cut, it's on my birthday, which I had to cancel a party and all this other stuff. And so he tells me in the midst of me getting cut, most coaches just say, "Hey, wish you the best, good riddance," or whatever they want to say. It's real quick. Here he is saying, "Renaldo, you are more than a football player." He said, your life is not just football. And he's speaking to me. He's encouraging me. So I'm going in thinking I'm about to just turn in my playbook and get one of those quick. But here he is actually encouraging me, speaking life into me, giving me a new identity in terms of what the Lord's saying I should be doing instead of what the world is saying and saying I'm more than just a player. So, again, he has a great way of picking people, picking leaders, but not only that, just really sowing into the leaders. And when you care about somebody, Roger, as you know, man, you have a lot of flock of your own, right?
Yeah.
When you show people that you care for them, man, they'll run through a wall for you. And that's what's going on now at Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, the man is getting inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. He's already into the pro football. He'll be in 2 Halls of Fame, which I don't think anybody probably would ever do that. And so he's going in this year with his 2 former drivers, Tony Stewart, who owns Stewart House Racing, and also Bobby Labonte, who won our first championship. And now here we are. I don't think it's a coincidence, Roger, that we just now got 3 drivers with Denny Hamlin's win yesterday in Phoenix. 3 of the 4 will be in the championship race, and there are 3 JGR, Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, going into this last race to win the championship. Kevin Harvick is the 4th, which is a Tony Stewart driver. But our other 3 is Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex in the Bass Pro Car. I mean, it's just a phenomenal year, and hopefully one of our drivers will bring home his championship next Sunday.
Oh man, that's really cool. I'll definitely be tuning in. I have never been to a NASCAR event before, but now I got to try it out. No, I've never been. I have been to a hockey game though, and I agree with you. Once you see it, it's just so fast paced and so fun that it's a lot easier to follow. So NASCAR will be next on my list for sure.
I got you covered, man. Got you covered.
That's right.
Would love that.
That's right.
Hey, this is my first time being able to talk to you, and I know Roger was telling me some little stories about y'all's relationship and just how awesome of a guy you are. I'm super interested to hear. You talked about Coach Gibbs and just his influence in your life and how he was speaking life into you. What's your story? Our heart and goal for some of these conversations is to really get to the hearts of men in the area, to know that even in your situation of making it right, the dream of being a professional athlete, but yet also understanding that Jesus is better. Could you speak into a little bit about just how you, maybe your testimony, when the first time you met Jesus, how you kind of grew in your faith, and just give our listeners a little insight into that?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you talking about, Jesus is better, because that is my story, man. I can tell you that, I tried everything else, but sooner or later you're going to come to that realization that there is nothing, no one, nobody that can take the place of Jesus, that can bring true fulfillment, a true identity change. And that's exactly what happened to me, man. Here I am, feeling like, man, I am on my way. Here I come, NFL. I'm at Notre Dame playing at the highest level as a starter, and feeling empty, doing everything that the world told me to do, and yet and still, man, here I am, man. It catches up with you, as a coach always told me. When it catches up with you, it catches up with you. And I remember, here I got a notice and got a meeting to come to academic dean meeting with a few other athletes that were getting kicked out, and they told us to start filling out applications to go someplace else to Notre Dame. And for me, that kind of hit me, because I knew football was no longer going to be in my grasp. I had to try to stay in school, and first time I had prayed in 2 years. I hadn't prayed in 2 years, and I simply just asked the Lord, please help me get out of this valley. A lot of times we do find the Lord, it's in the valleys, but it's during those times that we need to realize that we can't do it on our own, that we need a Savior. And I needed the Lord Jesus Christ, and I called on him that evening. And I can't say that things just went smoothly,
of course not,
but it was a process for me, and it was a journey that I am grateful for, to be able to learn about who he was, because I didn't know him. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought, like, hey, it was a good luck charm, say enough prayers, go to the mass enough, being at Notre Dame, you'll do well. And I realized that wasn't the case. And I met my wife, and her and we actually gave our life to Christ right before I got drafted. That next year, we went on a journey to know who the Lord was, and realizing that it was about a relationship. It was about keeping him center. And even in our imperfections, there's nothing we can do to earn salvation, but Jesus, he is salvation. Amen. And so bringing our junk and bringing our stuff to him as we are, that's his whole purpose of being, is because he is perfect, and we're able to just lay all our weights at his feet, and be able to just say, Lord, now you take over the reins. And so me and my wife, we go to Jacksonville, and Mark Brunell, one of the star quarterbacks on our team, he invited us to a Bible study. We were new in the Lord, and at that Bible study, I think Rice Brooks was preaching there that night at his house, and we got water baptized in Mark Brunell's pool that night.
Amen.
and so and even, hey, for a black woman to get her hair wet, that's a lot right there, man. So, but Jesus was better, man. And so for us, just continue to go forward in our journey to let people know that, like you said, Jesus is better, and there's nothing that can take his place.
And you've been working for Coach Gibbs and Gameplan For Life, and you guys came to Houston. It was such a blessing. After we had one of these first conversations, you're like, hey, Roger, let's come to Houston. Let's do a Gameplan For Life event. Talk about that and the ministry of that. And then I want to talk about what's going on in the prisons. Folks, we're talking to Renaldo Wynn, 13-year NFL veteran, and most recently now working for Joe Gibbs Racing and Coach Gibbs Ministry, Gameplan For Life. Talk about the Gameplan For Life events, and then also the work y'all are doing in prisons.
Yeah, and so we so appreciate you, Roger, and your staff, and so many of the churches that collaborated there in Houston to partner with Gameplan to bring a community together to be able to go and get unsaved or unchurched men to come and hear the gospel message. And that's simply what our game plan events are all about. We just want to be a tool for cities around the country, just as what you did, Roger, and we appreciated that, and being able to have Coach share a gospel message through using sports. We know how big of an influence sports can be. And so in this case, NASCAR or football, or even being a business guy, you know, and to be able to allow churches to really, man, be challenged to get their unsaved friends to come and hear a gospel message is really what we're all about at Game Plan for Life. So any cities that want us to do that, and they can go to our website, gameplanforlife.com, and we'll come out and do a leadership meeting and be able to allow Coach to come out to your city. And guess what? You don't have to raise the honorarium. There's no fundraising. We pay for the AV. All we ask is that, you know, the guys that are bringing their friends pay for their breakfast that morning. So the rest, you know, we know God brings the increase, and it was truly amazing, as you can attest to, right?
Unbelievable.
I mean, the men that came to Christ that day.
Hey, and the thing is, Coach Gibbs is like, hey, y'all want to take a picture with me? And we got a line. We had 500-600 guys. A lot of men gave their life to Christ. 500-600 guys there, and everybody that wanted a picture with Coach Gibbs in his Super Bowl ring just waited in line, and he did it, and it was incredible. But he also gave a great message, told his story, and a lot of his story is ups and downs and success and then failure because of poor stewardship, and then how God uses those valleys to pick our head up and look to Him and order our lives. Game Plan for Life is also a book that Coach has written, and he assembled 10 or 11 experts in different areas of our lives that men need to hear from. And so the impact is exponential, and it's fantastic. So, folks, you can go to gameplanforlife.org. Is it .com? .org. What is it, Renaldo?
Yeah, you just go to .com, and we also give our book away for free. So if you want to order the book online, we'll send it to you at no charge. You know, guys, we are successful in racing, but we're really a ministry to have as a race around the track on Sunday. And so that's part of what we're funded is through our race team, and it's blessed to be able to give those books and as well as the New Testament study Bible away. Send it to you for free.
Yeah, gameplanforlife.com. Let's talk about what you're doing in prison. Folks, we're talking to Renaldo Wynn, 13-year NFL veteran working for Game Plan for Life and Coach Gibbs, Joe Gibbs Racing. But part of your Game Plan for Life event, you guys are going into prisons and working with seminaries. Unpack that for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so, you know, we have the very first seminary in the state of North Carolina where we are actually taking lifers through a 4-year accredited Bachelor of Arts degree in pastoral studies, just like you would go through, you know, as a pastor, Roger, and going to seminary. And the thing with these guys, they never leave their congregation. They're there 24/7. When they graduate, they'll be serving life, but they'll be dispersed throughout the 55 prisons in our state of North Carolina, and they'll be able to build churches from within, counsel, dealing with guys with grief, suicide, be able to do also, you know, chapels, funerals, all these things that a pastor could do, and also be able to extend the reach of the chaplains that are coming in to come and volunteer their time. And so we were able to really partner with your city there in Houston, which is one of the first seminaries outside of Angola, which started this this iconic move of the Lord. And as you know, right there in Houston, changing Darrington prison. And you guys have more than 55 prisons. I believe you guys in the state of Texas have 160 plus prisons. The biggest incarceration rate, I think, is Houston, but that is also changing the recidivism rate because of your seminary that you guys have there in Houston. And so being able to equip these lifers, they will be the biggest change agents to the guys that are not only inside, but Roger, 96% of all inmates come back to the communities in our areas, but 76% are going back. But if you have a seminary, you can change the recidivism rate by half.
Yeah, wow.
You know, and so that's what's happening even right now in Houston.
That's amazing, and it's impact. And you're giving guys who are locked away for life purpose, vision for their life, right? I mean, that's we're on Vision for Life Radio, and we're talking about having vision for life. Huge.
There you go, man. And let me just share another little tidbit of information. Baylor is a huge supporter of what's going on with the seminary.
Good.
I won't say his name, but there was a millionaire, a big alumni from Baylor that actually did a statistical study and actually tracked and wrote a book in terms of that the seminary was the change of the recidivism rate being reversed by over 50%.
Fantastic.
And so Baylor actually, this guy gave $10 million to write this book, a Baylor supporter, and now we have that tracked in this book statistically saying that, hey, we know definitely it was the seminary that can change a prison.
Wow, and that's important. And the gospel changes lives. It gives people hope. And you've never been the same since you discovered Jesus is better, as Tim has already mentioned. Yep. And so we're giving guys. That's so exciting. I love hearing that.
So cool that they're giving hope in hopeless situations. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's what the gospel does.
Sure.
Exactly.
Amen.
Now we're kind of nearing towards the end of our conversation. I got to ask you, just as a NFL defensive end, there had to be just one quarterback that you just loved sacking, right? Like there's just one over another that you had to get to. I don't know what why or what, but who was that? I got to know.
Well, I got a picture of it that I signed. And I know everybody's going to say the Cowboys, which I have sacked on, you know what I mean? And that was a good one, against for sure. Romo. But, I would say my greatest sack of all quarterbacks of all time is Tom Brady.
Is
good. And it was more so his reaction, really, really why I enjoy it. I mean, most quarterbacks, they like to mouth off. I mean, Phillip Rivers, he's a great competitor, but I can't stand – that dude talks so much trash. You may not even get close to him, and he's talking trash. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, but I'll tell you, Tom Brady, I sacked him. And when I sacked him, I didn't know what he was going to say, but he says, Renaldo, where you been all my life? And what could you say but laugh, man? I'm like, he is the ultimate competitor, man. I mean,
that's awesome.
I just had to pick him up and just say, dude, really?
That's great.
Seriously? But he is the ultimate competitor. There are so many players that have played with Tom, and they all say the same thing, that he's the most humble guy. I mean, Tom, he's given me jerseys to be able to auction off.
Oh, that's great.
A guy that will get up, and many players will tell you, he'll say, hey, can I fill up your drink? Can I put that plate in the garbage for you? And, here's the star quarterback, that's serving his teammates.
That's
and it just shows you why he is so well loved by his teammates and other competitors, because he is the ultimate pro.
Hey, who's the hardest QB who's the hardest sack, and why? Is it
Ben Roethlisberger, man?
Really? Big Ben.
You know what, too? You know what? Actually, I'm going to split it. Ben Roethlisberger and probably even worse than him was Steve McNair.
Really?
Oh, my gosh.
Boys.
Yeah.
Steve McNair, man. That dude was – I had special. A clean hit on Steve. He was special, man. And I still don't know how he got away to this day, man. But those two big boys right there, man, they were hard to sack.
Hard to bring down.
Yeah, man.
Hey, brother, it's so good to spend time with you today. Thank you for your time.
Oh, man. No, it's always great being on, man. We have a blast and talking football, NASCAR, and more importantly, God. Man.
Amen.
So I appreciate you and Tim.
Oh, hey, it's our joy. Any predictions for the national championship going into for college football? Maybe we'll wrap up with that. You got anything cooking? What do you think, bro?
You know what? And I'm a little biased, a little bit. I'm outside of Notre Dame. I'm a Tiger fan, man. And
wait, Clemson or LSU?
LSU, baby, LSU.
I'm just double checking.
Hey, I like Dabo. I like Dabo.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a great man of God. Hey, if I had a son, I would love to send my son to Dabo. You know what I mean? And how he's raising up there. But my roots are from Louisiana,
right?
And we've had a little bit of opportunity to share time with Coach Orgeon, and he recruited me to come back to the Saints. And he's always been great in terms of just supporting our seminary. He donates tickets to the Tigers games so we can auction off and help raise money for our seminary. And Coach last year was there speaking at his coaches clinic, and I just love their team and what they represent as well. And man, I'm going Tigers all the way. I'm going, especially after the biggest test was Alabama.
Yeah.
So I got to go with the Tigers, man. I know you got Baylor, and so Baylor just basically squeezed by TCU, but a win is a win, my friend.
A win is a win.
And so exactly, and so Oklahoma, if they beat Oklahoma this week, watch out for Baylor.
Hey, I got tickets to the Baylor UT game, and Brady's fired up that College Game Day's coming there this week, and for that OU game, he's like, Dad, I got to make a great sign. So we're dreaming up what
I'll be looking for him, man.
Brother, hey, it's great to talk with you, and hope you and your bride and your little girl are doing great, and praying for your mother-in-law, just lifting her up. But thanks for all that you're doing. It's always, and I always appreciate your availability and accessibility. It's a blessing to me. So,
man, anytime, brother. I got your back. You're doing some powerful things there too, and spreading the word across the airways. You and Tim, so great job,
folks. We're talking to Renaldo Wynn on Vision for Life Radio, where faith and sports collide.